Hello, everyone, and welcome to Full Circle Lithium's live event. Today, we're joined with Carlos Vicens, CEO of Full Circle. We'll be having a discussion rather than a presentation following a Q&A session. With that being said, we will be covering the questions as well. So we do want you to use the chat box. Please feel free to submit questions in the bottom right corner of your screen. I have some prepped questions here written down to start the conversation, but we want this to be as free-flowing as possible. To get into it, Carlos, thank you for taking the time out of your day. Before we look into 2024, let's look back at 2023 and see what happened. And we talked a bigger picture before we get into company specifics. So how do you see the current landscape of the lithium recycling industry, considering the increased focus on environmental sustainability and clean energy technologies? What trends or challenges have shaped the industry over the past year?
Sure. Thanks, Kyle, and thanks for everybody to be here. It's a pleasure to just give a little bit of an update as well as I guess, a summary of what we did last year. So in terms of the recycling lithium industry, I mean, there's a lot going on. Some good news and bad news along the way. There's significant participants now in the lithium recycling industry, specifically on the battery side, where a lot of new entrants and a lot of new technologies have essentially came to play and started doing some test work and so forth. A lot of the focus has now been put forth to all the batteries that are more focused on the nickel and the cobalt, the base metals, I would say, on the batteries, whereas all batteries on the lithium side, a lot of people are not so focused on the lithium aspect, which is a bit different on what we're trying to do. Our focus has always been on the lithium side. We are company that has had a big interest on just recovering the majority of the lithium within the battery. It's a constant on all batteries, and we believe that the LFP battery, which is a lithium iron phosphate battery, would be the winner over the foreseeable future. There, on this type of battery, you're not going to see much base metals except the aluminum and the copper, which are attached to the anode and the cathode. But the nickel and the cobalt most likely will not be in these batteries. The new generation of these batteries are the LFPM, which will have some sort of manganese attached to it, and these are in initial stages of demonstration. I believe at CATL has had some testing there, and we'll see where that goes. But a lot of I would say the trends have focused to grinding the batteries, having black mass, and then that black mass, which contains some of these, I would say, commodities or metals, then get treated and processed into different types of constituents, and then those get sold to the market. There's been a lot of focus on the supply chain there, where some companies will just focus on grinding the batteries and then selling the black mass to processors. There's some companies that only process, and then there's some companies that do both. We are trying to do the entire size. So we source the batteries, we dismantle the batteries in our own proprietary way, and then we process the battery or the materials within the battery and either use it internally, which we have not seen this happen in the past, because we have several products that we're trying to develop, and we'll talk through that in our presentation and our discussion, that utilize some of the materials that are within the batteries. And one of them is the fire suppressant solution, and another one is our absorbent that we use to extract lithium from solution. So we have the capability to use what we recycle within the batteries, so our OpEx is much lower. So we can use some of that, which a lot of our competitors or I would say companies within the sector don't have that capability. But in the grand scheme of things, you see that happening in the industry. You see that a lot of the I would say the industry is trending to the cobalt and the manganese and the nickel, and that's where the money is. There's a lot of new technologies that have not been proven to extract some of these materials. You have seen some bad news, specifically on the life cycle side, where capex run-ups, and I would say this is a capital-intensive industry. If you're not, I would say, careful on what you're trying to do, so that has hit life cycle quite hard. And essentially they've gone from a stock that was worth, I don't know, I believe almost close to $2 billion, to a stock that is worth now 150 million in market cap. So these things are not good for anybody. We wish everybody success, but these are things that are happening. They were the pioneers, I would say, in the recycling side, and they're the first ones. You never want to be the first one there, but at the same time, something's wrong with a part of the industry. So you can't be everything to everything. You got to be really focused and make sure that what you're trying to do is nailed down, and that you have the capability of not only doing the recycling of batteries, but doing other things. And that's one of the difference for what we're trying to do. We have a battery recycling business, but we utilize the recycling business to do other things, and that's where our fire suppressant solution came from. But we also have a midstream recycling business, where we focus our technology also to extracting lithium from industrial and chemical, we call it waste, or a solution that contains lithium, into saleable intermediate products. And that could be lithium chloride, it could be lithium carbonate technical grade, it could be lithium carbonate battery grade. So we have that capability of doing these things and not only have one product. And by the way, we also have the lithium refinery side, because we have a lithium carbonate plant at our site that we can also process lithium through our plant and produce lithium carbonate. So, we are well versed on the lithium side, and that makes us a bit of a different company. Not a bit, a significant different company when compared to others. Also, another thing that I've seen within the lithium recycling industry is the growth of the batteries in general. Not necessarily we're talking about EVs, we're talking about the entire spectrum of the lithium-ion battery sector. Energy storage systems are going to be huge. These are larger format batteries. A lot of them are LFP orientated. So when these batteries come out end of life or off spec, who is going to recycle these batteries? And not a lot of people are focused on this, and we're trying to focus on these sector, the LFP batteries. So, the SSS is one, the industrial side is another. So a lot of these things are happening, and that's where, we believe we can add value there. Again, a lot of the recycling is lost within the system. There's, I guess, the last stat that I saw is that, the recycled secondary metal production is only 5% of total production, or even less. I think it's even less. So the recycling industry is not really helping out on the demand side. It's not really giving any specific, I would say, supply to the sector. So it's not going to be a major issue, even though with the lower prices that we see here recently that have come down, that's not going to be an issue. A lot of the recycling efforts within our competitors are from scrap. And I'll remind listeners that a lot of these gigafactories are just starting up. And they don't have to be EVs. There could be factories that produce batteries for many other sectors, but a large part of what everybody hears is EVs. So a lot, when a plant starts, a gigafactory starts, the scrap or the off-spec material from these plants are going to be much larger. And it could be up to 20-25% at the beginning. They tend to go down into the 10, the 15, or even in the single digits, but they're always going to have scrap, and that scrap needs to be recycled in some form or another into final products. So to summarize, apart from that, is that there is significant, I would say, amount of companies within the sector. There's a lot going on, some good and bad news. A lot of the efforts are focused on high nickel cobalt base metal batteries today. There's not been any really good news apart from the fact that there's just a lot of investments going on. Governments are getting involved. and that is good news for everybody. But at the end of the day, we need some good results. And I believe that the best way to go forward in the lithium recycling side in general is not only to have a battery recycling business unit, which we do, and that's where FSS comes, but to have a more, I would say, diversified portfolio of potential products that can hit different pockets. When one goes down, you're able to do this or do that and make sure that you have a complete business cycle that can withstand good and bad times. So that's my long-winded answer to that question.
No, I think it was necessary to have that big overview, so I appreciate that. And we'll get into your diversified assets here now and reflect on 2023 first. Your company announced the acquisition of a scalable, fully permitted, and operational lithium processing plant in Georgia. How would you rank the significance of this on the overall vision of Full Circle?
When we acquired the plant? Is that the question? Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of people don't understand how we did the original, I would say, business with the owner of the plant, which is our CEO. I mean, the plant in itself was operating back in the late 90s, early 2000. It was mothballed in 2012. We raised money last year. Well, even before that, I guess we're now in 2024. In 2022, we raised some private money to refurbish that old plant, to get that plant into, I would say, almost production stage and fully refurbished. And that's what we did with that plant in 2022 and into 2023. So, we raised roughly, on a gross, not net basis, $4 to $5 million Canadian, and we refurbished that plant. But the plant was not ours owned. What we did there is that we had a lease with an option agreement to buy from the owner, which is our CEO. And then over 2023, as you know, we went public. We raised another 10 million Canadian gross, again, not net. And we did all the work that was not done yet in 2022. We built all the midstream recycling efforts in the plant there, and I would say our LEP plant. We did a lot of the work for the battery. A lot of the things that you've seen throughout the year. And we've invested so much money that we decided to exercise the option to buy. That is a significant accomplishment. Now we own 100% of the plant, 100% of the infrastructure, the land, and so forth. And we also announced, by the way, that we bought a adjacent piece of land right beside our plant. We have an agreement with the authority of Brantley County, which is where we operate. The important part about that land is that we now more than tripled the size of the original land, so we can grow if need be, depending on where the market is. But that land goes all the way to the highway, meaning that it's not far the highway. The highway is about maybe a kilometer, half a mile down the road, but just the access to the highway makes it a lot easier, and has full access, direct access to rail, which in our business, that is also significant. It is virgin land. We still have to do some work to get that, but the fact that we have that piece of land and it was not expensive, it was a pretty good deal, we believe is very important for us to continue on with the strategy of growing in Georgia and making sure that we create jobs there, we hire locally, and we develop our business there in Georgia. So that for us was very important. Even though, capital is at a premium nowadays, specifically where the market is, but we do believe is an important part and fundamental part of our business to really own that land and own all the property to make sure that, nothing gets lost in the shuffle, as I say.
Okay, great. I have two follow-up questions for you then. One, is it fully refurbished now, the plant? And two, congratulations on the acquisition of that land. Is there just standard building permits when the time comes if you wanted to scale it, or is there other necessary permits that you would need?
No, we have all the permits necessary. It's fully refurbished. One thing that we're working currently on is the I guess, the oven or the dryer for our lithium carbonate plant, where we had a small dryer, and now we're upgrading that dryer to make it more efficient. So I think I would say it's fully refurbished, the plant, to produce lithium carbonate, and all the regular. I mean, I would say the office and so forth. We're building another 2 additional, at least started the building for 2 additional, I would say, additions to the plant, which one will be fully, I would say, focused on the midstream recycling side. It has not been finished, but we started. And the other one will be fully, I would say, focused on the battery recycling / fire suppressant business. But those are things that we don't want to put too much money into that yet. Until we're up and running. So as you know, we're close to revenue, and those are the things we're going to touch around. So we want to make sure that we're focused on where the returns and the margins are going to be, specifically in this market where it's hard to raise capital, right? So we don't want to put money into assets that are not generating return for shareholders.
Yeah, so we will get into the exciting stuff here, because I know I sat down with you and your team a couple of times last year, and many people, and they're probably on this call, some of them, were excited about the potential of the lithium battery fire suppression solution.
Yep.
What was achieved last year specifically with this technology, and looking forward, what can we expect in terms of advancements?
Well, we talked a lot about it, but I mean, at the end of the day, the fire suppressant solution came from our battery recycling business, period. And that is very important to say, because we went bottoms up. We didn't just say, okay, this is what exists out there, and we'll use whatever the Chinese are using or whatever somebody else is using. We created this solution to dismantle batteries or disassemble batteries in a safe manner. So we understood perfectly that it's not safe to take batteries apart, specifically when they're fully charged. In our solution, we can take fully charged batteries apart within the solution, which is very important. So when we started doing that, and we did it over 500 times plus, it worked so well that we decided to test that solution on batteries that catch on fire. And this is just, okay, if it's working so well and it's not catching on fire, what would happen if a battery's on fire and we put the solution on it? Would it put it out? So we did that, and it worked unbelievably well in our plant. That's our own analysis and our own, I would say, studies within the plant and within the batteries. So it worked so well that then after that, we decided to hire a third-party lab to do this testing for us. So we've concluded 2 tests. One was with smaller batteries. If people that have been there know that. I mean, we do it with smaller batteries, which are just, imagine a bit larger than AA batteries. So we put 19 across, we set them on fire, we let them kind of go into fully, exploding, and then we put them off. And then we did an e-bike battery, same thing. We put that on fire, put that off. And now, hopefully, over the next month or 2, depending on the lab's availability, which has been very, very tough to get spot on, we'll do an EV-sized battery, meaning anywhere between 50 and 60 kilowatt hours. So that is essentially where we believe our solution is going to really, I would say, have that differential between testing it with water only and with I would say, a competitor. So we've tested the first 2, as I mentioned, with water and a competitor. We are by far better than water, because what water does is when you put water on fire, it just cools it down, right? And it takes the fire out, but it does not stop the reaction, the chemical reaction within the battery. So what happens there is that the battery catches on fire again. Our solution reacts chemically within the battery and does not let that battery catch on fire. So better than water, 100%. Not only that, but we use a significant amount less than if you would only put water to take the fire out and reduce the heat. So that's obviously very important. And we stop the reaction, so we're able to, at least environmentally, have a better solution than water. However, when you compare it to a potential competitor, the difference are minor, in the sense that the competitor also puts a fire down out. It may take longer. It may show a little bit more of I would say, heat than ours, but is not, I would say, something completely different than our solution. It does also do the job, albeit not as good as ours, in our opinion. Also, their competitor is a lot more expensive. It's not something. It has a lot more chemicals in it, so it's not, I would say, greener than ours. Ours is significantly greener, a lot less expensive, much easier to produce, ship, logistics, everything. But those are soft issues that, at the end of the day, will be valuable as we move forward into commercialization and marketing and sell and so forth. But I think the biggest, I would say, the biggest result will come in when we do the larger battery set, which is the 50 to 60 kilowatt hour. That would be over the next, I would say, month or two, hopefully. And that's when we're going to start seeing that big difference between us, water, and a competitor. We have also been able to have initial discussions with third-party FSS industry participants. We're starting to sign NDAs there and have those discussions, albeit at initial stage. There's nothing there to write home about yet, but that's an important fundamental part. We do believe we're a small company. We're going to have to take it to a point, but in order to get that to market, we're going to have to partner with somebody that is much bigger than ours. That doesn't mean we're going to, sell it all off and not make any, create value for our shareholders. On the other hand, I believe that by doing that, we can create a lot more value faster for our shareholders. So that's happening. We're also talking to, I would say, government officials within the U.S., DOT, DOE, hopefully DOD, Department of Defense, to potentially help us develop and go through the process a lot faster. And that's where we are at the moment. So we're very excited about the product that we have. We believe it's a game changer within the industry. And we have significant amount of experience within the fire suppressant solution. We have a 40-year veteran firefighter working for us. We have almost weekly discussions with firefighters and first responders in the state of Georgia. So there is a lot going on within that product line today for us.
Thank you. I just have a follow-up question. With this competitor, I'm not sure who it is, but have they conducted more advanced tests? Have they tested it on an EV battery yet? And if so, did they see it was transferable when it was scaled to a larger battery, or was there some issues or anything like that?
We have not seen. They have not put out anything. We can't say who the competitor is, only when the report, and those reports are, I would say, private and confidential for us. But we have not seen any tests done by them. We have not. Their website does not put out anything that we can see. They just say that it works for certain batteries, and we're trying to test it. If it does for the smaller set. We don't know what's going to happen for the larger battery set. So those are things that we're going to test ourselves. We don't. And even if they had done it, we want to make sure that we do it as well in comparison to ours, to see how it really, if it replicates well and how it compares to ours. So we are unaware of if they have tested it in a large format battery of 50 to 60 kilowatt hour. And remember, batteries in cars can range, right? You can have 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, even to almost to 100 kilowatt hours. So the range is quite big. We're testing a typical average 50 to 60 kilowatt hour. That will, in our mind, be a significant test that will show the result of our fire suppressor solution.
You mentioned seeing lithium phosphate batteries becoming more popular. I don't know how much larger of a market share, but is that chemical reaction more aggressive or different than the typical batteries that are on the street today?
They're less. Theoretically, the LFP batteries are safer. They've been around much longer, and their power is less. So theoretically safer. That doesn't mean they can't catch on fire. That doesn't mean the reaction can't happen. But we're testing our solution on NMC batteries, which are the most, I would say, volatile. And I don't want to say that these batteries are inherently dangerous all the time. They're not, but there are instances where these batteries catch on fire. So you need to have a solution for that problem. So we are testing on these NMC batteries. If they work on NMC, they will work on LFP batteries as well. But we are testing on higher energy density batteries to make sure that it works for the most problematic fires on batteries. And if that happens, then it works on the lesser ones. Now, when you say about LFP batteries, just to give you an idea, in China, where 50% of all batteries are made and the majority of lithium is used, about 2/3 of all batteries there are LFP batteries, approximately. I'm just, giving you an idea. So that's a very significant part of the market, 2/3 to or higher. When you look at Europe and the US, it's about not even a third, a lot less than a third. We're talking about in the teens, maybe 20% or even less. It depends. I think US and Canada even less. So that trend in the US or North America and Europe is going to trend to go higher. I don't know to what point. It could be 40, 30, 40, 50% as batteries and EVs start getting out there, energy storage systems and so forth start being more prevalent. I don't see it going to 2/3 like China, but it will tend to go up. And as the battery industry gets bigger and the percentage gets larger, then you're going to see an enormous amount of LFP batteries also going into the market. But in any case, all batteries are going to be growing, independent of what type of battery we're talking about. And there has to be a proactive and reactive solution for these fires. We can't just, sleep on the wheel and not have a solution for these fires on an ongoing basis. We just can't. We can't just have the solution of just let it burn and not have a fire suppressant solution that takes these fires out. It cannot be water. Water is not the solution.
Yes, most definitely. Your company has big goals and a big vision, but let's talk revenue here. You're on the cusp of securing your first stream of revenue, correct? Can you touch on that?
Sure. So we've announced over the last months, I guess the last quarter or two of last year of 2023, that we've signed our first client on a still not definitive agreement basis, but we're close to that definitive agreement, meaning that we check marked all the, I would say, technical aspects of our clients asked. We are now starting to negotiate a definitive agreement with this client, which is important. And once we sign the definitive agreement, then we are very close to revenue. What does that mean exactly? Well, we're already working on what we call Rev 2 production plant. We installed a demo plant at the client site. We tested all the things, and we brought it back, and now we're revamping, refurbishing, however you want to call it, what we call a Rev 2 production plant. And that's going to be our ongoing plant that will then ship again to our client site and then start production and revenue. Depending on how the negotiations go with the definitive agreement, which we don't foresee any issue, but nevertheless, we have to say to everybody that this all depends on definitive agreement negotiations, which we don't, again, see a problem. We should be in a revenue position, or at least starting to generate revenue by the end of this calendar year's Q1. So in and around the March area, we should start seeing some revenue generating from our first client. And that's where we always wanted to be. We have a bit backed a little bit. We wanted to be in a position where at the beginning of this year, we should have been in that position, but things have gotten delayed with the Christmas holidays and things at the client site and things at our site with supply chain issues and so forth. But it's nothing. There's no red flags here. It's just a matter of just getting this definitive agreement done and made sure that we got that plant up and running as soon as possible. We're both in it together. It's a partnership. We both going to win if we get this plant production. They save money on buying our product from recycled material from their plant. We make money doing that for them. So it's a win-win situation for both of us.
Great. Let's discuss your dealings in Argentina. A lithium producer is testing your midstream technology, right? What technology is this specifically, and what is the potential here?
It's the same technology that we've been using for this client in the U.S. So essentially, it's a technology that extracts lithium from solution. As simple as that. We believe our technology is applicable to many different parts or types of solution. One is industrial and chemical waste, as we're doing with these types of clients. And another one is just a solution, a brine solution that contains lithium. We believe that we can also extract lithium from solution and have a product that helps brine producers extract more lithium from solution. As you know, in my background in my prior company that I worked at, Lithium, we had an asset in Argentina, and our test and any test within the brine industry in South America will tell you that there's about plus or minus 50% of all lithium in solution gets lost in the system, plus or minus. So it's not an industry that recovers quite a bit of lithium from solution, but because there's a lot of it, you recover a significant amount and you're able to sell product, but it's not, it's not efficient. Let me put it that way. So if we can help them recover more lithium from solution, that is a plus for them. And that's what we're doing right now. So we're in initial stages of testing the solution. We already have a tote at our plant, which we're testing right now. And this could be a significant event because this specific type of product can be applicable to all other lithium brine producers in the area. So if we're able to work with this specific client and help them, get from 50%, and I'm just saying a number, 50% to 55 to 60% recovery, that is very significant. Even though it's only 5-10% of the total, well, that is a significant amount of lithium that can be sold into the market and help us generate revenue and help them also recover more and make more money. So that's where we are right now on that front.
And with this test, if successful, what would the breakdown be? Like, is it a percentage, or how would the agreement look with
that? I'm always say that with every client, things are going to be different. So we haven't even started discussions about that yet in terms of how the economics are going to be. So I won't be able to tell you much yet about how those are going to be. Most likely it'll be something similar to what we're currently doing, but it all depends. And remember, we're going to be in Argentina, which is at a significant higher elevations and so forth. So the complications are different. The environment is different. The regulations are different. So we need to understand all those things and have them into the equation as we start those discussions. But what we want to make sure is that our technology works and works well. Once that's done, then it's a different type of negotiation, right? I mean, so that's where we are. So I'm not able to give you a lot more of an idea, but our first client that we are hopeful going to be in revenue, it's around 500 tons per annum. That client is expanding over the next 12 months to about 1,000 tons. This is just the waste material that we treat. So they're much bigger than that, but the waste material that comes to us is we're starting at 500. We should go to 1,000. This is on a full run rate basis in 12 to 18 months. I would say a project in Argentina for a typical producer could be 2 or 3 times that size. So it's much larger, more capital invested. And even though that's good, well, you also need capital. So where are you going to get that capital? So it could be a position where the client puts part of the capital or half of the capital or all the capital. So our margins are going to be less in terms of, not our margins, but our returns are going to be less as a percentage because we just are not able to pay for that plant with our, with our money. So we'll use their money. But at the end of the day, that's beneficial for us because we get a lot more revenue without the risk of CapEx, right? But I'm just giving an example.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that's going to happen, but those are the things that you need to put into the equation to negotiate these things. So, we're hopeful that this works, and if it works, we'll be able to expand that after that.
Yeah. There's lots of options if successful, for sure.
Correct.
Can you elaborate further on any other LOIs that have been mentioned here, or that haven't been mentioned here, rather, that are worth bringing to the audience's attention?
Yeah, we're working on 3 others as the moment. One is anywhere between 1,000 and 5,000. We believe it's more into like the 2,000 range tonnage on a full run rate basis, and it's just an analysis that we've gotten from the potential waste material that they process. So we don't believe it's going to get to the 5,000 as easy as they might indicate, but at the end of the day, that's a potential. But we believe it's going to start on a much lower rate and then grow. And we're negotiating there, and we're going through the process there. There's another one that we're also working, which is in and around that 1,000 ton range, in the same vicinity. These are industrial clients, not chemical, more industrial size clients. And that's a very important one that could be done over the next, I would say, 2 to 3 months in terms of signing an initial term sheet LOI, going into then building the demo and then processing. That could be a much faster approach because these are clients that are wanting to get to market a lot faster and are not necessarily wanting the product back in their process. They're most likely, these clients are saying, okay, here it is, you take it and then you process it in your plant, and then you sell it, and that's your issue and that's your problem, and they'll just get a portion of the price that we sell it to at the end. Whereas the chemical plant wants that lithium product recycled and put back through their plant. So there's 2 different types of clients. And then there's another one on a chemical side, similar to the first one, that it's much smaller. It's around 100 to 200 tons per year. And these are all important, but we're starting to see a lot more interest in our product. And I believe that once we have one working, hopefully that can of worms opens up and there's a lot more clients interested in our product, because there's a lot of things in the DLE or extraction or processing industry. There's a lot of people talking, oh, we have this this product that works, but have you put it into production? No. So once we have one in production and everybody can see it, then I believe a lot of other projects are going to start happening. And when that happens, it's going to be very, very important. And I think it's going to be good news for everybody here, because we'll be able to expand quite quickly.
Interesting. Now, we know that governments are supporting areas like this, environmentally friendly recycling, et cetera, et cetera. Is there any grants that are of any significance at all that you're applying for?
We've applied one last year. And this is in the lithium battery recycling side. We applied for, what you do on the I would say the application of grants, you first have like a pre-application process where you put I would say an essay, more or less, with what you're trying to apply for, and you give your qualifications and how you plan to do it. But it's a summary of the larger application. And then what they do is that they give you either a green light or a red light, meaning we encourage you to apply for the larger grant, or they discourage you to apply. You can still apply, but if they discourage you, I would say do not continue the application. That didn't happen to us. They gave us the encouragement to apply, which we did, and that application went at the end of December. And I think the results are going to be in and around the first quarter of this year. Potentially, it depends on the government. So hopefully by end of March, early April, or something to that effect, we'll know the results of that grant. And then I believe the funding of that grant, which is around 6 to 8 million US, will be done, I think, this third quarter, the September timeframe, end of the summer of this year. So that is significant. I mean, even though it's 6 to 8 million, but the good thing about this is that it will help us I would say, move our lithium battery recycling much faster. It will help us get there a lot faster without having to tap the markets. It's non-dilutive to our shareholders, and within this market that we're in, it's hard to raise money, and at what price. So if we get that money, it will make us just get there a lot faster and a lot more efficiently. So we have been in discussions with all our constituents, meaning all our government officials within the state of Georgia, and we've had, I believe, 8 letters of support for our grant that we put through with our grant, and that is significant, including the governor's office and everybody in there in terms of government officials. So we are very hopeful that we win, or we have a successful application for the grant. Nevertheless, nothing is 100% sure, of course, but we're very hopeful that we can count or win this application for the grant, and then get that money by third quarter this year.
Well, Carlos,
and we're looking at others as well, but that's the one that we've applied, just a specific example.
And I appreciate the elaboration on that. Where is it going with this? Oh yeah. So now I pay attention quite a bit to the mining and exploration sector, and 2023 was a rough year for the markets overall, especially for the junior mining sector. But what I did notice is a lot of strategic investments in nickel companies, lithium companies even. I'm just wondering, what was the overall investor sentiment for Full Circle last year? And yeah, if you could just elaborate.
Well, it hasn't been easy. I mean, if you look at our recycling, I would say comp, everybody's hitting and are close to their 52-week lows, right? Which is not positive for anybody. But you can't, look, I mean, it's timing the market. It's impossible. When we started our go public transaction back in January of last year, a year ago. Well, even in December of 2022 into January, starting those discussions with investors. That's when the market started to shut down almost. Our idea was to raise money at that point and go public. We ended up raising 10 million, which was significant, but I would have wanted a little bit more. But at the end of the day, that's what we could raise from our investors, and that has done well for us. But the market is still difficult. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's been difficult. However, we are seeing a little bit light out there, like you're saying, Kyle, where you see it seems to be the bottoming of the lithium market. There seems to be cuts in production from the major suppliers. I think Albemarle the day before yesterday, announced they're going to cut production, which is, I mean, that's what they always do. Okay, so if China, a lot of people are saying that China's manipulating the lithium price market on the spot price, and a lot of these negotiations on contracts are based on the spot price in China. So when the spot price is hitting all-time lows on a weekly basis, you try to negotiate a long-term contract where you can't really do it at a much higher price. So what they're doing is that, okay, we're going to cut production. If you're cutting production, there's not going to be enough supply in the market, and the price is going to go up. So you're going to see a lot more volatility over this year. In my mind, you're going to see the flattening out of the price, and start to see, in my mind, a comeback of the price. Back when we sold Neolithium in 2022, early 2022, and the discussions we had in 2021. The price hit a new low, I think at the beginning of 2021, of $6,000 to $8,000 a ton of lithium carbonate spot, something around that, or even lower, maybe 5,000. But when it turned so fast. And remember, the high that I got to was almost $100 a ton. $100 a kilo, or $100,000 a ton. So things can go and change very quickly. And when that happens, people are going to miss the boat, which they usually do, and then they end up buying at a much higher price. So we do see a significant amount of interest, but timid yet. But we have seen some interest on specific spots on a strategic basis, like I mentioned, on the FSS, on the midstream recycling, and so forth. But in general, on the battery recycling side, there's a lot of, I would say, careful investments there because of also bad news from certain competitors like Li-Cycle and so forth that have made it difficult for people within that area to raise money. So, I think the good thing is that we have a more diversified portfolio of products that we can focus on and create value that way. So we'll continue on that path, and we're hopeful that this year will be a pretty good year to create more strategic investments and garner more institutional support for our share price and going forward, and to be able to raise capital when we need it.
We are nearing the end of this, Carlos, and like you said, you have a diversified portfolio of assets. So I'm just going to be a little stubborn here, and if you had to pick a favorite child or for the key focus for someone to take away from this call is, what is the most important technology catalyst that you're personally excited about for 2024?
Well, I think every shareholder wants to see our first client be in production and start generating revenue. That for me is as important as anything. So I would say if I had to pick one, it would be the midstream recycling side, right? Which we want to put that first client to production, get that out there and start generating revenue and get more on that front. And then if I had to pick like a secondary child, it would be the fire suppressant solution, where we believe that could be a massive value creation effort from our side. But I remember everybody, that fire suppressant solution came from a battery recycling effort. So it's not like the battery recycling effort is not loved. We're still working away on that, and we'll continue to generate some news and some, I would say, I will evolve and make sure that product line also moves forward. But those are the two that I would say, midstream recycling and the FSS. And not forgetting, because we did talk about it today, we did talk about the brine industry on the refinery side and the capacity on our third business line, which is lithium refinery. We do believe that there is a lot of value creation there. So I would say that those are the things that I will be focusing on. But if it's only one, it would be midstream recycling, start generating revenue ASAP, and growing that business as fast as we can.
Thank you for being concise. And you did summarize everything as a whole nicely there as well, though. As we conclude, is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience, be it your journey, the industry as a whole, or just a question that maybe I should have asked or investors should be asking management here?
I think we talked a little bit about everything. I mean, markets are not easy. I think when we're all in this together, I do appreciate the support from all the shareholders and everybody here listening to what I have to say. But this year is an important year for us. We're almost there. We raised money. We've only been public roughly 6-7 months, and we're almost on revenue generating status. So that is important. We'll continue on that fight, and we'll make that happen as soon as we can. And as we get to that, we'll grow our business. But these are things that are going to take some time, and we appreciate the patience of all shareholders. So hopefully you guys stay with us, because there's going to be significant news at our side, and they're going to be hopefully positive for all of us. And we're going to see that share price go up as we put these news releases out there and get those, I would say, milestones accomplished along the year.
Carlos, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. And for everyone in the audience today, thank you. If you did come in a little late, this event is being recorded, so keep your eye out on YouTube. It will be available, if not today, most certainly tomorrow. If you have any last words, you did sum it up nicely there, Carlos, but if you have any last words, please feel free to say them now.
No, just saying thank you for everybody. Thanks, Kyle, and your team for hosting us. And if anybody has any questions, you know where to reach me or our team, and happy to answer them as we go forward through the year. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.